This is Ollie. He's my dog. He's a golden retriever crossed with a Smithfield. He's a black one. Obviously, a Smithfield is also an English working dog. He's 7 years old. His birthday was in January, and I've had him since my first day in New Zealand. Well, not first day, but my first year in New Zealand. He's a great companion. He's about knee height, I would say, on me, and in general, he's just a nice, fluffy, black, lovable thing to have around and hug. Love you, Ollie. Keep doing what you're doing, just sitting there, doing absolutely nothing, looking around.
So, in case you couldn't guess by that message, Ollie is no longer with us. A month away from turning 15. It kind of killed my motivation to work on stuff. It happened halfway through me being sick, so ironically, the following videos coming out after this will be when I'm still sick. It's a lot to process, so this video is a part of that, acknowledging the past and trying to appreciate some of the stuff that happened in the last 15 years. This video isn't for anyone, it's just for me. And I tried to match up the shirt colours to the drinks I was having. I'm using it as an excuse to drink musashi and talk about the memories that tie into that, but I hope you hear something that could comfort you if you're going through a similar thing or anything. Again, I did this immediately after showering. I wasn't feeling too great, but I did scrape together a bunch of shirts, so more noticeable than when I did that Monster Redux video and matched all the nail colours to each of them. But I did find my favourites. Hannah has a few stories, I have a few. I could talk for hours about him, but I'm just trying to process this and get through it. It's a major hit to have something that's been a staple of your life for 15 out of the 22 years you've been around. But yeah, here it is. Here's where we're starting to get a little bit imaginative with our connections to the colours. The only reason I have to connect this red, more of a pink, that's why I picked this shirt, is because of one of the last collars he had. I assume this is a common struggle for pet owners, but we really struggled to find this little guy a collar. We tried everything from fabric ones to zip-up ones to clip-on ones. We tried chain ones, although he would choke on those because, they tighten. And they felt a bit inhumane. Oh, that is watermelon. The nicest one I liked that stuck out to me the most was that red collar. It annoyed my parents. Well, it tastes like watermelon gum. I wasn't going to say anything about these flavors while I was talking, but this is really strong. But the thing that annoyed my parents, or my dad, depends on when it was, they separated, was I used to take the collars off because I almost felt like it was a symbol of oppression in a way. It's showing that they're owned and not a part of the family, and I wasn't always the biggest fan of that. That red one you could just squeeze and it would pop off straight away. But I remember, I think he got used to it being popped off and he started trying to do it himself. And he succeeded. A lot. Oh. There'd be days when I would just come out and in the morning in his little bed, you would just see the red collar popped open and you would know he'd gotten out. He'd gotten away. He used to do that a lot. He was a notorious escape artist. In one of the first houses we lived in, I'll see if I can get a Google Maps photo. He used to jump the fence. This was like a pretty solid fence, and he somehow managed to jump over it, so he had to rig a chicken wire type thing to double the height. But after he did that, we found out that he wasn't actually jumping the fence. He was walking through it. He was a tiny little puppy, and we didn't know until the day someone came over and he just walks through the fence to say hi to them. I don't know how he survived or how he even got him back. He got out every few days at least at some points in his life, and he would always run away. He'd be spotted like a solid 10-15 minute drive away. And he would always make his way back. I assume it's because he got hungry, he got tired of exploring. I kind of wonder what it would be like if we desensitized him to the idea of going outside, kept him on an extension lead, or done something different. He got lots of socialization. I guess he just escaped for the curiosity. I am so glad nothing ever happened to him. Otherwise, this would be a 1-year story, not a 15-year story. He was always so cheeky though. He would always give you this look. He knew what he was doing was wrong, and he would only get scared if he got caught or if he thought you were going to catch him. It was always so silly picking him up. So small. I was small as well. Pretty big dog for me. I wish I could have picked him up at my big age, but unfortunately, by the time I was this age, he was a bit big for that. I have picked up other dogs, and I might even picture, but there's no way I was getting that beast off the ground. You know, for some reason, I still have dreams with Ollie in them, and he is the same size relative to me now as he was to me when I was a kid. Now, it started off minimal, like when he jumped up, he would barely get to my hips. But dogs grow quickly, and people don't. By the time he was a few years old, he could jump up, get his paws on my shoulder, and he was a little bit taller than me, I believe. And in my dreams, I had one last night. When he jumps up on me, he's like full arms gotta reach around size. It's kind of silly. It's just... perspectives change so much. I went back to my old primary school on a closed holiday period when I knew it would be empty, and I went after I was with a group of friends, and it was crazy how tiny it seemed. That thing was huge as a kid. But it's all... everything's warped with time. Can't even trust your own memories, let alone how much everything's changed and how much you've changed. In a sense, I've been many different people throughout the period of life that Ollie was around for. He was there for the most important years of my life. From childhood all the way to being an adult, having moved out, having a job and studying. Which is kind of crazy to think about because that has outlasted every friendship I have ever had. I actually can't think of anything that's lasted longer than him. For this colour, orange, I couldn't actually find a proper one, and I also can't find a mango coloured one. So I'm going to be wearing this shirt or jacket from my old job over a random white shirt. This memory is about sunsets, and that's how I've connected it to the orange. One of the earliest memories I have when he first became comfortable with me was when he sat with me and we both looked away off into the sky. It was getting later on in the day. And as a kid, that was my first time properly understanding that animals are their own living things. Prior to that, I'd had gerbils, but that's very different. You don't... with something like a gerbil, maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like you don't form the same relationship that you do with a dog. And I recreated that later on with Jarvis, that little photo, but that moment will stick in my mind. So I remember I heard the click of a camera from behind me, and I turned around, and he turned around at the exact same time as me. So there's a photo of us both looking over our shoulders, and it's very funny. I actually made a habit of that. When I went on walks, I would often stop at the tops of hills. I would stop on paths, just wherever, and I'd usually watch the sunset with him. I'd always try to time a lot of those walks, so I would go out half an hour before sunset, and then we'd just sit there. And he was always so happy. He'd just be panting and looking over at me, and then occasionally, not every walk, but some walks, he'd fall asleep and he'd put his head on my leg. And it was like a nice little break from the rest of the walk. I know I can still do that today, but the sunsets have never quite felt the same. That's a benefit of a dog I hadn't even thought about really until now. It's the fact that you don't need to find a way to motivate yourself to go out and walk. You have a reason to. You're doing it for someone else. And that's something very nice, I guess. It's a little routine that's gone. Even though I wasn't always the best at it. Especially with some of the things I was going through. I will miss that time. Why does it feel like mango is such an intermediary flavour? Also, yes, I couldn't find a mango-coloured shirt. This capybara is going to have to be my mango. I'm going to talk about the time I got back, because I took a 2-year break from seeing Ollie when I first moved out. When I first moved out, I was on a student budget, studying, going away. We can have a little sniff. And I knew I wouldn't be able to take care of a dog, no matter how much, well, dogs, Ollie and Jarvis, no matter how much I wanted to. Now, I came back in 2023. I left to a dog. I left a dog that was 10 years old and came back to a dog that was around 13 years old. Because I left it, it's weird timing, end of 2020. 2021 is when I left. It's so hard to remember, and I came back mid-2023. But his eyebrows had gone grey. I think that was the first time where he ever started to feel old. Up to that point, he'd always just been there. I'd had him since I was around shortly after I turned 8 years old. That's a long time to have something in your life. He just felt like a permanent staple. But I looked at him and I was like, wow, that is a dog who is getting old. There is aging happening there, which, feels like it should never happen to something so permanent in your life. In a way, it's kind of like how you never really think about your parents aging. It's just such a weird little slap in the face to see. He was so much more mellow. He wasn't allowed inside really anymore. He was a little bit stinky, he was going a little bit deaf, maybe a little bit blind. And it was not the same dog I used to know. It was still him, but age changes you. I like to think he went through 3 periods of his life. In his early life, he was very much a Smithfield, the working dog, like his dad. Middle of the life, he took on a lot more of the attributes of a golden retriever. He looked more golden retriever, He looked more soft and fluffy. But by the end, he reminded me more of a bear. Well, the concept of a bear, anyway. It was always so funny, because he got shaggy and fluffy, come home, and he just, I don't know. He had this strange calm about him. I always wonder what it's like for a dog to get old, because they don't really comprehend, they don't know what aging is, they can't just ask a friend or go to the library or open Google. But do they know why they're getting tired? Do they know why it takes longer for them to eat? Do they know why they're not as fast as they used to be? Because I used to see that spark light up in his eyes, and it's like there's still the same little puppy Ollie I used to know, but it's like he just can't come out anymore. And I know he was happy. He was very happy. I guess it's just something that's been on my mind since he passed. Lots of things you never really feel like you have to confront until something like this happens. I'm so annoyed I couldn't find a proper shirt for yellow, but hopefully this one will do. So, this one for yellow, I'm going to talk about 2 memories. I was originally just going to talk about the happy ones because of yellow's, well, it looks green, it's high-vis, but because of yellow's associations with happiness. But I'm going to start with a less happy one. Did you know, Ollie, that little creature, that little thing, he peed on my face one time. I was in the car, he had a little ramp, I think he must have been injured at the time, or he was too small, too young, couldn't jump into the boot. Had to get him up. And I remember very vividly trying to get him into the boot and then unhook his lead, because you don't just want a random leash hanging around in the boot while you're driving. If it gets caught on anything, it's dangerous, it's bad, I wanted to get it off. This little creature, being the creature he was, stepped over my head as I was looking up to try and unhook it, and he just peed. No warning, by the way. I got laughed at, obviously. It's one of those things that's only funny in retrospect. It was disgusting at the time. I'm awful with stuff like that. I don't know why he did it. I don't know what triggered it. Maybe he just got scared. Maybe he was overexcited. If I had to guess, he was probably overexcited and overwhelmed. But that sticks in my head. I'd completely forgotten about it until making this video. But in terms of the positive stuff I want to talk about, it's just how much of a companion he was over my whole life. We slept on the floor together. I know I have photos of that. I went out for walks for hours with him. It felt like he went everywhere with me. I had a small gap when I moved away initially where he wasn't with me, and I was really sad. But I didn't take him with me because I was on a student budget and I wasn't in a flat that I thought would allow dogs. They allow cats, so maybe they would have. And I kind of regret not taking him here. The reason I didn't is because I thought he was too old. I thought he may as well rest in somewhere where he feels safe and familiar and comfortable, and I think that was the right decision. But a part of me still feels bad for it. But he was so silly. He always had like the dopiest little smile. He had this thing where sometimes if he did certain expressions, his face would become an oval. I actually have a picture of him doing that when we found one of his litter mates many years later. Tried to get a picture of them next to each other looking the same. They did not look the same because he did the oval thing. The other dog ended up looking more like him. All in all, it's just kind of weird to have someone or something be a part of your life for 15 years. I'm 22. That's basically my entire life. He was born the day I arrived here. Didn't get him the day I arrived here, but he was born the day I arrived here. And he made everything worth getting through. He was always there. That's the thing about dogs. They love you unconditionally. And if you want them, they'll always be on the sofa, on their little bed on the floor, out in the garden in their favourite little corner in the sun. It's weird to have that kind of unconditional care from something that doesn't even understand your language. And I think that's one of the few things I will miss and that I don't think I could ever replace. For green, I'm choosing to talk about the first time we ever went on a hike with Ollie. So he was born when I first came to New Zealand, and we did not know many of the rules. This was very much a family trip. We did not know dogs were not allowed there. Anyway, the place we went up to, I can't remember what it's called, but I'll probably show it on screen or figure out the name for later. But that was a really fun trip. He was a tiny puppy, and we somehow took him all the way up the mountains. He was terrified, by the way. One thing that rarely came up is that he was scared of heights. Anything above about a meter would petrify him, which, you know, doesn't really come in normal day-to-day situations, but when you're hiking, that's basically every path. My favorite moment from some of those early trips was he was so tiny. Seeing him paddling across the stream crossings we had to do, or just seeing him immediately jump into the grass and get lost. We stopped early on the way to the hut we were supposed to go to, because we didn't realize that the new one had moved a lot further down the path. So we set up a little camping tent. It was really nice, it was cozy. I had my own, my dad had another. I can't remember much of the situation. But me being a kid, I took Ollie into my own single-person tent. It was cramped and tiny. And through the night we heard bush possums, and those things scream. If you thought a fox scream was scary, you should hear these things. And he was so terrified, he was like a little shaky plushie, and we hugged all through the night hearing this screaming, thinking there was some horrific creature. In the morning when I woke up, my mouth was full of his fur, everything was covered in fur. Definitely it wasn't ideal. But I think that's what initially formed that stronger connection I had with him, of feeling more like he was my brother than just a dog. Which sounds silly to say out loud, but I feel like if you've had a pet for 15 years or 10 years, you'll probably understand that feeling. It was that night he went from being more than just a pet and became protection. He became a companion. Unfortunately, he never really got to go on any other trips after that. I went hiking and camping. Several times, but it'd be fun. I think more animals should get to see the big wide world away from the city. Pure nature and just birds and stuff outside of a house.
Hello, my name is Hannah. I first met Ollie around, I believe, late 2023. With my partner. I met them alongside my partner, since it is my partner's dog. And I remember I used to come home from work late at night, and I used to feel pretty bad about myself because I was pretty depressed at the time. So my partner would come by with the dogs in the middle of the night, and I'd pet the dogs, and we'd usually walk around and talk for a while, go back to their place, or like do stuff like that, and it was always nice.
I forgot I snuck out of the house.
Dogs were always very cute, and it was always very late at night and kind of scary because there were dodgy people around. But yeah. And then there was this park near where we lived, because I grew up in this area, and I remember when I went there as a kid, the park always scared me, because I thought somebody went missing there as a child, but actually it was just a parent being very irresponsible to their kids. And there was a bamboo forest, and the way that the bamboo always whistled scared the hell out of me as a child, because I thought there were legitimately monsters in there, and I used to go there while I was all alone because I lived so close by. But one time we went there with Ollie and Jarvis and my partner, and we just sort of walked around, and that was kind of the first time I thoroughly looked through that area. So it was kind of also realizing that it wasn't as scary as I thought when I was a child, going through the bamboo forest. I remember we just sort of sat down and we looked out across a little stream, and Ollie just sort of decided to sit down in front of us. And it was very funny because he was moving, but he also was not moving. So we just sort of started burying him in leaves and mulch, covering him up. And he just sort of would occasionally like pant and look back at me, but then we'd just continue throwing leaves up on him. And it was very funny. And that was sort of one of my favorite memories, because it was such he was such a silly dog in a way. Yeah. And then I can't even remember what happened after that. I think he just sort of got up, shook it all off, and then that was that. We just walked home. I think he was covered in leaves for the duration of the walk home, though, just not many. I think we got slushies on the way home, if I remember right. We got the slushies with the spoons.
The slushy cups.
Yeah, the slushy cups. So those are still my favorite.
They used to be blue and red.
Yeah, they changed them. It's not the same anymore. Life will never be the same. Just kidding.
So, I picked blue for its connection to water, which makes me think a lot about the times we used to go for walks. There's a place I used to live, and there was an area we always went called the Haiku Walk. Ollie loved the streams there. He would always go swimming, he went diving, he always loved it every second. And one of his favourite things to do when he was in that water was to fish out the largest, most obscene rocks he could possibly find. It sounds a little bit silly, especially because I have so few photos of it, but it was always really funny seeing him run around with that big, goofy grin on his face. I genuinely don't know how he never chipped a tooth. I think he started doing it at quite a young age, which kind of makes me feel like it was a form of maybe teething exercise that he never grew out of. Or maybe he just did it for the love of the game. The scariest thing was whenever we would throw the rocks, because we'd often throw them like a really far way. And he would run, and it was so scary. Because I've probably shown the photo will be around. And it is so scary throwing a rock that heavy around a 2-year-old to 3-year-old dog and expecting nothing to go wrong. I think if times had gone a little bit differently, I definitely would have taken him back to more places with rocks. It was one of those things I never really thought about until he was gone. He had so many little things he loved, and I guess I just kind of overlooked them as doggy things. But in hindsight, it would have been a great way to make him happier. Again, you're going to have to use a bit of your imagination for this one. I'm sorry I don't own a full rainbow of clothes to match every obscure drink I'm going to review and try. I tried. It's that colour. It's purple next to a purpley pink. Anyway, I wasn't going to have this one originally, but there's one aspect of Ollie that I think's kind of funny and a little bit sad that I haven't spoken about at all. So let's get started. Ollie had a lot of issues. He had to get so much surgery. He ate so much nonsense. He had multiple tumours. I have so many memories of all the stitches and cones he had to wear, little shaved marks. That's why I picked this colour. It makes me think of the flesh colour. I'm surprised that dog lived. I remember one time he ate a mouldy sandwich in a plastic Ziploc bag. Just because he saw it was a sandwich. I don't know how that thing passed through. We found the bag in the garden after he'd done his stuff. That should have killed him, right? He ate a fishing hook. There was a point in my life where I did a little bit of fishing. I had a fishing rod. Don't know if I have any pictures from that, because when I was younger, I didn't really have a phone and I wasn't really around people that took a lot of photos. Like at one point I went fishing with my granddad. Don't think we caught anything. At one point I did catch one of my new favourite fish though. It's like a really colourful one. I have compared Hannah to it in the past. But he was no longer eligible for insurance, and it's kind of scary how much happened to him. I feel like it was lessened because I wasn't financially responsible for him through most of those periods, and I can't even imagine how much money he would have cost over his life. But that dog's got to be some kind of medical anomaly. I guess there wasn't really any particular reason for why I wanted to bring that up. I just want to try all the massages, and it's a good excuse, I guess. I think one thing, if I had to take one thing away from this though, it would be that vets are way too scalpel happy. So many immediately jump to suggesting surgery. He's got a minor thick surgery. Oh, we should exploratory cut. It invalidates insurance. It costs money. It's pointless. Now, I'm not saying vets are useless. Love vets. They've done so much to save my boy. But don't overreact. I think that's the biggest thing. It's like those people that obsessively get x-rays and tests and blood tests, and they end up doing more harm than good. They end up spending a lot of money, and they might even cause long-term damage to their body due to overexposure to radiation or taking the wrong kind of drugs or overdosing. Same logic applies there. Obviously, if something's wrong, you should do it, but it really opened my eyes to the amount of pointless things that get suggested. To, this. I don't think I'll really have any pictures. I might have pictures of when Ollie was recovering, but I won't really have anything else to go up on screen, unfortunately. But, yeah. I'll let everyone else, like future me and Hannah, take over from here, so...
We didn't know what to do for purple, so we picked the one time Ollie came inside of my house and peed on the floor. I think it was. It was the only time, I think. And, well, no, yeah, it was. And he peed on the floor immediately. My suspicion at the time was that was where my grandmother's dog used to pee, because he'd pee himself in that spot when people came through the door because he got so excited. So I think he sniffed around, smelt it, and then was like, oh, I can pee here. And then that might be why, but apparently he's never done that. Never done that. But yeah, this was on another one of our late night things. My nana was out of town for a week, I think. So we just sort of spent time together around the house. And it was fun. At least when I met him, he was very excitable, but he was also very he had big dog personality. So, whereas my dog had little dog personality. Well, she had medium dog personality. Because she was a smaller dog. She is a smaller dog. She's only 4. I mean, my dog would have been more... My dog's more of a Jarvis. I wasn't surprised because I hadn't known Ollie for that long. So, I just thought, oh, it's a dog. It's going to be inside. But apparently not. Apparently that's extremely rare for Ollie.
4 out of 10, very sour, bitter, tastes like a watermelon gum.
I assume they might contain milk because they make so many protein powders. 4. It tastes like artificial watermelon. It tastes like it's dissolving my teeth, even though it's probably dissolving my teeth about as much as the other ones are. It's made my mouth really phlegmy. I can feel all the phlegm.
I forgot to rate that one. It's a 5 out of 10. Decent fruit punch flavour, not too crazy. Yeah, whatever. Does taste like a fruit punch though.
It smells very nice. It smells like a mix between sherbet and crushed mandarins. It tastes like sherbet, but citrusy flavored. More mandarin than orange though. A 7. It's too sweet.
Mango's a 5 out of 10. Tastes like an actual mango, but diluted. A lot of the Musashi seem to have this sort of watery element to them.
Smells like mango. Oddly enough, I find that a lot of the time mango often smells like carrots. This tastes like it's a carrot juice. It smells like mango, but I don't think it tastes like it. I've also got an ulcer on my tongue now. All the sugar. These are very sweet.
They're sugar-free.
Really? I can't believe they're sugar-free. I think they taste like they're filled with sugar.
That's a good thing. So what does it taste like?
6, and it tastes more like carrots than mango. Which makes sense, because they do often taste surprisingly similar in the format of juice.
That one gets a 4 out of 10. Tastes like an actual lemonade, but it's fairly weak. Kind of lacking. Again, a little bit watery, but pretty alright.
Doesn't smell like anything. Doesn't taste like much too. It tastes like a really under-fertilized bad lemon that you got from the supermarket. Well, maybe over-fertilized? It just tastes like a particularly boring lemon. 4. I don't like it.
No one gets a solid 7 out of 10. Nice and sour, tastes like a crisp green apple. Not that refreshing, surprisingly. Aftertones of water.
This flavour, yes, it tastes like green apple. I'd give it a 7. I'm just not the biggest fan of green apple, to be honest.
What kind of apple does it taste like?
Green.
Yeah.
It tastes like a green apple.
That's a solid 8 out of 10. Blue raspberry, subtle notes, very nice. Very sour, I quite like that.
Okay, now this is blue. Blue flavour. No, it's blue raspberry. Well, it smells very nice. I can't taste much because of all the ulcers on my tongue now. But it does taste pretty good. It tastes like if blue were a raspberry.
Give me a sec. I'm not actually going to take that. I'm going to step in for a second. What I want to say is, this blue flavour is what sold me on Musashi in the first place, being 0 sugar and tasting like this. And I was so disappointed that it was my favourite by several points above all of them. It feels like I got catfished by this flavour. But that's all of them. I filmed all the drinks out of order after having a shower, so you'll see my hair's different levels of dry. And that's because I forgot to put a few in the freezer to cool them down in time.
For this purple one, I've been sipping it as we go. It doesn't taste like grape. It tastes like every artificial grape. Maybe I would be very interested to research as to whether there is a specific kind of grape that these are based off of, and if I could taste that grape to see if it actually tastes like that. Because none of these drinks ever taste like grape to me, but it still tastes pretty good. This is better than a lot of the other artificial grape flavors that we've tried. Ultraviolet. And yeah, it is far better than those. So yeah, it's got soy lecithin, it's got leucine, it's got beta alanine. It may contain milk. Ollie, wrist. I just did a salute. I went to do like, I just went. Cut that out. Cut that out. Ollie, man, rest in peace, man. I would give him lots of cuddles and scrugs and scrutch.
We're actually here and could understand you. What would you say to him for the time he spent with him?
I would say, I would say that. I'd have cuteness aggression because he's very cute.
Yeah. For my final thing, if I had one more chance to say something to Ollie, I don't know. It's such a complicated thing because, unlike Hannah, I have a decade and a half of memories with him, going through every major point in my life. So I would probably say thank you for the 15 years, and I'm really annoyed you didn't turn up later in my life for me to appreciate you and take care of you more. Because I feel like the first 7 of those 15 years were wasted with me being a dumb kid, not fully appreciating what it means to have another life in your life. Like a whole living organism that just does nothing but love you. I was too young to, I think, properly appreciate that and acknowledge it, and it's one of the things I regret, because I feel like I never did the most or the best that I could for him, because he was just there. My brain accepted him almost as just like a family member that would outlive me. But yeah, thank you for making my life bearable, and giving me lots of cute photos. Being the first subject of when I was learning photography on my cameras, helping me sleep on all the restless nights, somehow breaking into my bedroom when you didn't even know that I should be going away, and then crying by my bed all night. Pretty cool dog. I'm trying to not cry. Yay. Goodbye, Ollie. Little guy. Hello, cutie. I love you, Hannah.
Love you too. Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the, let me just stop the audio. So thank you for listening, if you made it to the end. I'll probably play a few cute little videos that I couldn't get the audio of in the video. There's our official rankings for the Musashi. They're not related to the monsters, although I'm thinking about them relative to the monsters, which is why the Ultra Blue only got an 8. I have a Discord server if you'd like to join that. It's currently just me and one other person, so it would make it a whole less awkward if you could join as well. And I hope you look forward to any future videos. I'm gonna love covering Subnautica 2, once I have my energy back. I also want to get back into streaming. I got asked if I would get another dog or a pet, and it's so hard to answer because I don't feel like I could ever replace a connection like that, but we'll see. I'm just glad I'm not sick. That sickness was awful and lasted several weeks. I'm sorry for my delirious ranting in the last video. But yeah, I'll see you all in the future. Goodbye.
Hey there, Ollie. How are you doing? Come on, little boy. Come on, guy, buddy. Me old chum. Just eating grass. That's all you do now. What about you down there, little guy?